What happens when a film arrives so far ahead of its time that audiences don't just misunderstand it, they reject it? When 2001, A Space Odyssey premiered in 1968, it didn't feel like a movie. It felt like something alien had landed in theaters. Viewers expected a traditional science fiction adventure. What they got instead was silence, ambiguity, and images that seemed to mean everything and nothing at once. People walked out. Some were confused, others frustrated. A few even laughed. But what looked like failure was actually the beginning of something much bigger. Because this wasn't just a film. It was a shift in how cinema could think. The story behind its creation is just as unusual as the film itself. Instead of adapting an existing novel, Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke built the story together from scratch. Not one version first and then the other, both at the same time. Clarke would write sections of the novel, Kubrick would reshape ideas for the screen, and then Clarke would revise again. The result was two versions of the same idea, each filling in gaps the other left open. The book explains what the film refuses to say. The film shows what the book can't quite capture. It wasn't adaptation. It was collaboration in its purest form. And that spirit of experimentation carried into every part of the production. Take the now iconic monolith. Originally, Kubrick wanted it to be a glowing crystal, something visibly otherworldly. But the material caused endless problems. It reflected everything: lights, cameras, crew members. After repeated failures, he scrapped the idea entirely and replaced it with a simple black slab. No detail, no texture, just a perfect void. Ironically, that limitation made it far more powerful. The monolith became a blank canvas for interpretation. It could be technology, divinity, evolution, whatever the viewer believed it to be. That same philosophy shaped the film's refusal to explain itself. Kubrick even went as far as removing a full narration track during editing. Early cuts included scientists explaining the story, guiding the audience through its meaning. But Kubrick realized something: explanation would weaken the experience. So he cut it all. What remained was silence, broken only by music and machinery. And that silence confused people. At the New York premiere, hundreds of viewers walked out. Critics called it pretentious. Some dismissed it entirely. It looked like a disaster. But then something unexpected happened. Younger audiences, especially those drawn to experimental art and counterculture, began to embrace it. They didn't watch it once. They watched it again and again. Each viewing revealed something new. The film transformed from a puzzle into an experience. And suddenly, it wasn't failing anymore. It was evolving, just like the story it told. Behind the scenes, that pursuit of realism bordered on obsession. Kubrick didn't want space to feel cinematic. He wanted it to feel real. So he consulted aerospace engineers, studied NASA designs, and built spacecraft based on actual scientific concepts. The rotating space station wasn't just clever filmmaking, it was grounded in real physics. To achieve the illusion of artificial gravity, the production constructed a massive rotating set, a giant centrifuge that actors could walk inside. It weighed tons and required precise timing just to perform simple movements. Watching it today, it feels effortless. But filming it was physically exhausting. Even the smallest details mattered. There's a scene with a zero-gravity toilet instruction manual, 10 steps long. Most viewers never notice it. But Kubrick insisted it be there, fully written and logically accurate. Because in his mind, a believable future required believable details. That level of dedication extended to the film's visual effects, which were groundbreaking for their time. The famous Stargate sequence, for example, wasn't created with computers. It couldn't be, CGI didn't exist yet. Instead, it was achieved using slit-scan photography, a painstaking process involving long exposures and moving light through narrow slits. Each frame took enormous effort, and the results were unpredictable. What emerged was something completely new, visuals that didn't just show space, but felt like traveling through it. Even the opening, Dawn of Man, sequence pushed boundaries in unexpected ways. Those weren't real apes. They were actors trained to move like early humans, guided by a choreographer with a background in dance. Their movements had to feel primitive but intentional, violent yet evolving. The result is still unsettlingly convincing. Kubrick also made bold decisions about what not to show. Early drafts included detailed alien civilizations, complete with elaborate designs. Sets were even built. But in the end, he abandoned all of it. He feared that any attempt to depict aliens directly would feel fake or limiting. So he chose abstraction instead. The ending, with the star child, doesn't explain itself. It invites interpretation. And that's exactly why it has lasted. By refusing to define its meaning, the film allows every viewer to find their own. Even the infamous HAL 9000 reflects this layered thinking. Its calm voice and logical demeanor hide something deeply unsettling, the idea that intelligence without emotion can become dangerous. The moment HAL sings Daisy Bell as it's being shut down isn't random, it references one of the first computer speech demonstrations in history. In that moment, HAL isn't just a machine. It becomes something almost human, regressing to its earliest memory like a child. That blend of technology and humanity is what makes the film feel prophetic. Because many of the things it imagined are now part of everyday life. Video calls. Artificial intelligence. Voice-controlled systems. In 1968, these ideas felt distant. Today, they're normal. But the film didn't just predict the future. It shaped how we imagine it. Its influence can be seen everywhere, from modern science fiction films to real-world space design. Even astronauts have commented on how accurate it feels. And yet, despite all its precision, the film remains mysterious. Kubrick famously avoided giving clear answers about its meaning. He believed that if something could be explained in words, it didn't need to be shown on screen. So instead of answers, he gave audiences questions. What is the monolith? What triggers human evolution? What lies beyond the stars? There's no single correct interpretation. And that's the point. Because 2001, A Space Odyssey isn't meant to be solved. It's meant to be experienced. What began as a confusing, divisive film has become one of the most important works in cinema history. Not because it followed the rules, but because it rewrote them. It proved that movies could be more than entertainment. They could be philosophical, experimental, even uncomfortable. And sometimes, the films that challenge us the most are the ones that last the longest.